All right, let's talk about something that can drive even the most dedicated English speakers a little crazy: pronunciation. But instead of seeing it as a frustrating chore, I want you to think of it like a really fun puzzle. And today, we're going to find the secret key to solving it together. I mean, let's just dive right in with a classic example. Have you ever looked at a word and just thought, wait a minute, that makes absolutely no sense? You are definitely not alone. For instance, why is I read a book yesterday pronounced differently than I love to read a book? Same exact spelling, completely different sounds. That feeling of confusion, that's our starting point. But here's the good news, and it's a game changer. English isn't just a random collection of exceptions. It's actually filled with hidden patterns. And once you start to see them, the whole puzzle begins to click into place. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on some of those patterns and learn how to dodge the most common pronunciation traps. So here's our game plan. We'll start by digging into the puzzle itself. Then we'll expose two of its biggest secrets, what I call the silent letter trap and the stress test. And we'll wrap it all up with a simple takeaway you can start using immediately. Okay, section 1, the pronunciation puzzle. At its heart, the problem is pretty straightforward. The way we spell English words kind of got frozen in time centuries ago, but the way we actually speak the language never stopped changing. And that gap, that disconnect, is what creates this whole puzzle we're trying to solve. So let's move on to section 2 and our first big pattern, the silent letter trap. This one is huge. We're talking about all those sneaky letters that you see written down on the page, but that you just don't say out loud. And they're not mistakes. They're actually clues. So what are silent letters really? Well, you can think of them like little historical fossils buried inside a word. They're letters we don't pronounce anymore, but they stick around for spelling, and sometimes they're super important for telling one word from another. Let's take the word doubt. Your eyes see that B in the middle, and your brain just instinctively wants to pronounce it, doubt. But that's the trap. In modern English, that B is completely invisible to your ears. It's just doubt. You see it, but you don't say it. And doubt isn't some lonely exception. Oh no, it's part of a whole club. Just listen to these words: debt, subtle, thumb. You hear that? In every single one, the B is totally silent. Once you recognize that pattern, the trap is basically disarmed. And of course, it's not just the letter B. English is absolutely packed with these. You've got the silent G in sign, the silent K in knife, the W in right, and oh yeah, that really sneaky T in the word listen. The moment you start looking for them, you'll see these patterns pop up everywhere. Okay, moving on to our third section, the stress test. So silent letters are one piece of the puzzle, but here's another huge piece: word stress. This is all about which part of the word gets the punch or the emphasis. It might seem like a tiny detail, but trust me, in English, shifting that stress can change everything. So word stress is just a fancy term for making one syllable a little longer, a little louder, or a bit higher in pitch than the others. And getting this right isn't just about sounding more natural. It's absolutely crucial for being understood correctly, because it can literally change the entire meaning of a word. Let's look at the word record. If I put the stress on the first syllable, it's a record. That's a noun, a thing, right? Like a vinyl album. But if I just shift the stress to the second syllable, it becomes record. Now it's a verb. It's the action of taping something. Same spelling, two completely different words, and the only difference is the stress. And this noun-verb shift is a super common pattern. A thing you can hold is an object, but to disagree with someone is to object. A gift you receive is a present, but to give a speech is to present. Your behavior is your conduct, but to lead an orchestra is to conduct. Can you hear that shift? That's the rhythm of English at work. All right, section 4, your takeaway. We've talked about the patterns, we've decoded them, so now the big question is, how do you actually put this all into practice? Here is a dead simple strategy to make it all stick. It all comes down to 3 easy steps. First, listen. And I don't mean just hearing words. I mean actively listen for the patterns. Where's the stress? Which letters are quiet? Second, exaggerate. When you're practicing by yourself, don't be shy. Really overdo the stress on record. This builds muscle memory for your mouth. And finally, practice. Out loud. You can't master sounds just by thinking about them. You have to make them. And as you're practicing, please keep this one idea in your head. The goal is not perfection. I mean, what even is a single perfect accent anyway? The real goal, the real prize is connection. It's about being understood, sharing your ideas, and actually connecting with other people. So there you have it. You now have two of the most powerful keys for unlocking English pronunciation: spotting those silent letters and listening for word stress. So I'll leave you with a question. What's the first tricky word that you're going to go out and master? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.